Hey everyone, it's Kirsty here. So today, and I know it's been a while since I've caught up with you. And today I'm going to put some makeup on and I'm going to talk about the benefits of being an amputee for me. So I've alluded in previous videos that I've had a long-term injury. The sum of that is that I broke my ankle. So I broke the talus. So if this was the talus bone here, normally when you break something, you break it across. I broke mine up the center, and it was misdiagnosed as a sprain for 8 months. I was walking to and from work. I had a personal trainer. I worked 2 jobs. I had 2 children, and over the period of that 8 months, I developed what is called a vascular necrosis. So basically the 2 halves of the talus kind of moved apart and one side of it started dying. They did a few surgeries over an 8-year period where they drilled holes, tried to get the bone to regrow, and debrided it. So they took off all the rough edges. None of those surgeries worked, and then I had a fusion that was quite extensive. Basically they removed the talus, they trimmed off bits of bone and cut out ligaments and things like that had already been damaged, from the dying bone sort of flaking off and embedding itself in to the ligaments and into other bones. So they sort of got rid of all of the mess, filled it up with like a bone type concrete thing, infused it with lots of metal and pins. That was almost overnight pain relief. I was in agony for a really long time, and then it was just this blissful relief from pain. Sorry, I'm making noise, but I'm going to put on makeup while I'm talking to you. I sort of had lots and lots of pain, lots and lots of disappointment, where, I was working with rehab people and pain specialists, doctors, surgeons, psychologists, lots of people, to kind of get me up and running, and it just wasn't working. And there was also this sort of culture that I was dealing with in the group of people that I was dealing with, and that I didn't want to be better. And I foolishly believed them, and that I didn't want to be better. And then the thing is, I knew I wanted to be better, because the person who was going to benefit the most from me being mobile was me. And, there were times where I wasn't mobile. I was in a moon boot and crutches and more moon boots, and then, not coping with the pain. There was even a time in my sort of, during this pain thing where my kids were quite little, and I asked my husband for a divorce. Thank goodness he did not agree. That was just lucky me. Because I was struggling with, managing the pain and managing my family, and being a good wife and a functional human being. And I really did use all kinds of, forms of escape. I got into online gaming, and I got into an online community, and I loved that and prioritized that for about a year in my life, because I wasn't this broken person that the real world people had to kind of, deal with. I was just me. I was just a personality. And I loved that. I loved that, these bunch of people had no idea what I was physically going through, and they just liked me for who I was. But there was no real demand to those sort of relationships either. If people got too much for me, I just logged off, So it was a real form of escapism. I realized that I had a problem. I had an issue in that I was escaping my situation. And that's when I asked for psychological support, because I didn't want to lose my family, and I didn't want to hurt anyone, and I felt like I was withdrawing completely from, social situations, and interacting, even with, the people that I lived with. to sort of, kind of just keep the pain at bay. It didn't keep the pain at bay. It kept, how do I explain this? I guess it gave me an identity that felt more true to who I was rather than a person in pain, I guess. But that wasn't the reality, and I did need to deal with the pain. Eventually, I got so sick of, medical professionals and other professionals within the rehab team telling me that, the pain was in my head. Technically, they're right. I get that. But when you're in the midst of pain and you've already got, issues with trying to escape the situation that you're in, hearing that it's in your head kind of translated for me that I was mental, and that I was causing myself mentally to feel pain that didn't actually exist. And I honestly, I thought I was nuts. And that I was kind of dreaming up pain that wasn't there. And, these people also used the word that I was catastrophizing the situation. I'd never heard the word catastrophizing before. Boy, that is not a helpful term when you are experiencing pain that you don't want to experience, and people are already telling you that you're the one that's the cause of it, and that there's nothing physically wrong with you. And yeah, it was a real mess. It was a real nightmare. And eventually I just got so angry with all of these people, and they weren't just messing with my life. They were messing with my husband's life, my children's life, my mum's life, the few people that I was keeping in my life, because I did really self-isolate, and, cut off friends and definitely had no social life because I couldn't maintain just the normal day-to-day stuff, let alone, having a social life as well. And yeah, these people were messing with all of that, and they weren't taking any of that into consideration in their quest to, solve my problem, and one that they didn't really fully understand. Eventually, I paid to get an MRI done on my ankle joint, and it came back that I had something like 4 or 5 cysts that were sort of like, this size. Like, my ankle was hugely swollen up. I had osteoarthritis. I had rheumatoid arthritis. I had, obviously, bits of bone embedded into ligaments and things that, weren't meant to have bits of bone in them. And yeah, just, there was a whole host of things going wrong, a whole bunch of stuff. Lots of inflammation and lots of physical cause for pain. And it was at that point that I was able to get to see a surgeon, who I had not seen before that. In fact, I don't even know how I ended up with the appointment. I'm not sure who organised it. But I got this appointment, and I met this surgeon who had just returned from overseas where he'd been working and studying. And he suggested the fusion. Because my claim has been accepted by ACC in New Zealand, for those of you who aren't in New Zealand, it's like our government-based insurance company. They recommended amputation at the time, and I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified at the thought of that, and I had so much fear about, whether or not my husband would find me attractive, whether or not I was going to get treated differently, would I even find me attractive, more importantly than anybody else, would I like myself? And it did kind of get to the point where I was just like, yeah, just chop it off. But then, because I couldn't handle the pain anymore, I couldn't do the situation that I was in anymore. I just wanted to play with my kids, we'd take the kids to the park, and I would sit either in the car or on a bench seat or something like that, and I would take photos of them playing. I couldn't go out and join in. I couldn't go and kick a ball. I couldn't go and collect leaves in autumn time for pictures and things like that. My husband did all of that with our kids. And you know, he was fantastic. He's a fantastic parent. I mean, they've grown up, they've moved out of home, you know, it's a while ago, but yeah, I just missed out on all of those things, and I hated it. I hated not being part of that. So, had the had the fusion. It went really well. To start with, I had a really good, probably about 10 years. Ooh, I've just picked up a colour. It's beautiful, but it's very glittery. Yeah, why not? Yeah, I had a good 10 years without, you know, the kind of levels of pain that I was in before the fusion. The thing is that, you know, my foot bones and my knee and all those sorts of things, they were all doing the job of what an ankle would normally do. And so they kind of wore out pretty quickly. And it got to the point where I had some more arthritis in my foot bones. And, you know, just everything was sort of starting to get painful again. And I spoke with my surgeon who did the fusion, and he said that we could fuse more of my foot, or we could look at amputation. And then, you know, obviously he goes through the process of getting CT scans and MRI scans and X-rays and all those sorts of things, and he has his own little feel of everything and asks a million questions. And then, so basically the choice that I had was that I could have a fusion that would fuse more of my foot bones. Basically my mobility would be even less than the fusion of just, you know, the ankle joint. And that could last between 2 to 5 years. And I'm 46. So I was kind of like, okay, so by the time I'm 50, I'm probably going to have an amputation. Now, there was no way that I could have any other, you know, like joint replacement or anything like that because of the extension of the stuff that had been removed during the fusion. There was just nothing to put back around an ankle joint. You know, all the ligaments and things had gone, they'd been removed. Or I go ahead with an amputation. And the process of deciding that was pretty full on. I had to acknowledge that I did have fears, that I did have worries, but I also had a little bit, you know, another 10 years of maturing. We'll use that term really loosely. And, you know, I talked to a psychologist about the choice because I wanted just to make sure that I was making the right choice for me. And of course, there was always the choice that I do nothing, and that I, you know, just continued with the fusion that was becoming increasingly painful, and it started interrupting, you know, whether or not I could work. Definitely slowed down, you know, the physical activities that I was doing. It was interfering with my sleep. You know, I'd wake up in pain with sleep. And of course, there's always the thing with amputation that you'll get an amputation, but none of that pain goes away. You know, it's chronic pain and it won't leave. But what the amputation does do is it takes away physical reason for the pain. You know, so I wasn't going to have the arthritis and all those sorts of things. So I did some research and I went with the decision to have an amputation. And in my mind, even though there's definitely been some challenges and definitely been some situations that I've not been happy with the outcome, like, you know, having to have second surgery on it, I still think this is the best thing I've ever done. And being the best thing that I've ever done, now I've completely lost my concealer. Oh, found it. For me, it is the removal of, you know, bones and things that were going to, you know, degenerate quickly. I obviously other bones in my body, will continue to generate as I age. But though, my foot bones, they were being asked to do things that they weren't really designed to do. And now that's not the case because they're not there anymore. Do I look less tired? We can hope. Yeah, we've got these 2 foster puppies at the moment, and they believe that 5:30 in the morning is a good time to get up. It is not, and it's a Sunday, which makes it even less good. So yes, then what other reasons do I have for thinking that this was a good choice for me? Apart from the fact that it was quite finite, because that was really important for me as well. I needed the situation to kind of be over, because I had done that for almost 20 years, of having this leg or this foot that was causing me, pain and discomfort and lack of sleep and distractions. And, not to say that the amputation doesn't have an element of that, but with the amputation, it's still quite finite, the limb is gone, and in a way that gives me a sense of freedom, to focus on what I can control now. It's not this variable thing that could change, and there's not multiple parts of my foot or my ankle or my leg that's going to be different in terms of, degenerating or breaking or hurting, and now it's just this one thing that you kind of just work with and work out, and problem solve with it. And I find that that's, for somebody who loves control, and I do like to have control over situations in my life, I find that really, really, really encouraging and helpful. Some other reasons why, just putting a wee bit of highlighter on, just to pretend that I'm more glowy than I really am. Yes, so pretty. The glowiness is. See, this is why I like makeup. I've had a really early start. I feel quite average in myself today. I've had such a busy, couple of weeks, just working and, trying to, manage these puppies and manage myself and other health issues that I have that are not related to my ankle. And yeah, I just put some makeup on and I just feel, I don't know, like I've pampered myself. It's bizarre, I know, but it is what it is. It's Sunday. My husband may or may not be taking me out for lunch. We haven't decided yet. He's off at the gym at the moment. Hopefully I'll be going back to the gym myself, working on, more physical activity with my physio. Oh, there's another thing that's a real bonus to having an amputation is with a fusion, you're locked in to whatever mobility you're given, based on the fusion. With a prosthetic, they have so many options on, what you can do with a prosthetic that it opens up your physical world massively. I remember before I had the surgery, I was talking to another amputee and they asked me, what would I like to get back to? Keep in mind that this happened really, in my younger years. I was a young mum and I hadn't really, gone all out on physical. I'm not a sporty person or anything like that, but I love skiing, I love swimming, probably a lot of solo stuff. And, the first thing that popped into my head was, I'd love to get back up on the snow. And they were like, oh yeah, no, we can build you a leg for that. And I was just like, wait, this is an option? Like, wow, and they're like, would you like to run? Well, no, I don't like to run, but, being given the choice, to be able to consider that, you just don't get that with a fusion. What you've got physically going on is it. Another thing that I I'm just cleaning off some brushes here. Another thing that I have found, with having the amputation is, as you are overcoming your challenges that amputation does, present you with, because it's you and you alone overcoming those challenges, there is a real sense of achievement on everything, So in the early days, it was just the basics, it was just getting out of bed, not losing your balance, hopping from one place to the next. It's real simple stuff. Although that doesn't sound simple when you're doing it, but simple now that we're down the track a little bit. But yeah, the achievements that I've been working on lately is, to be wearing my prosthetic more and more. I was using my crutches, just for balance, but I was finding that if I was querying whether or not I had, balance, is that I would just, by default, I should stop talking while I'm putting on lipstick. By default, I would just lean forward into my crutches, and that was causing me to have really poor balance and not feeling confident walking in my prosthetic. So I ditched the crutches. Scary stuff. But when I walk slowly, I walk carefully, and I deliberately put my foot or feet where I want them to be. And it's been a couple of weeks of successes, really, and just getting out and about and doing stuff without crutches, without a wheelchair. Admittedly, I get pretty tired, and it's definitely increased my fatigue, but it's a small trade-off. I'm not wiped out. I might crash in the afternoon, and by terms of crashing, it used to be that I would have a nap. Now I'm more likely to just sit and kind of unwind. I'm still studying, so it might be my time to sit down and just read some of my study stuff, and take that in, or reread my study stuff, or write something up on one of my assignments or something, or play with the puppies, or catch some sunshine or something like that. So it's been a busy week in managing that. But those wins, I didn't have those wins really with having a fusion. You figure out in the first sort of 3 to 6 months of what you can and can't do with a fusion, and that's it. It doesn't really get any better because everything's locked up. Whereas with the amputation, the progress is still going, and I'm over a year into this now, and I'm still finding things that I can do and stuff that I can manage. I'm slowly increasing the amount of housework that I can do on my own. There's still things that I struggle with, places in my house that I struggle to get to, but these are wins. These are, it's this returning back to some of what you are, or some of what you did, I guess, and some of what you are, I think. For me, part of my identity has been a homeowner, and, having a place where I work as well as live that I really enjoy being in, and that's including it being pretty tidy. Not that you can tell at the moment on my desk. I've been studying, so it's paperwork. But yeah, it's just all those things. So if you yourself are thinking about whether or not you should have, elective amputation, then there is a lot of benefits to having an amputation. It's not easy. I'm not going to pretend that it is. But it's not as hard as you think either. And I remember getting this advice from another amputee, an older gentleman, who said that, amputation is frequently within our community considered a disability. He said, but the disability is in your head. So it will only ever limit you as much as you allow it to. And I think I've really proven that to myself, especially in these last few weeks where I've decided to ditch the crutches because I was literally using them as a crutch, not to be more mobile. And I faced the fear of falling or hurting myself, and just got up there and got out there and got, moving. And it really is a head thing. So yeah, if you're thinking about this, the possibilities that come with having an amputation are actually greater than having a fusion, in my opinion. Anyway, this is me. I am done. When my husband is finished at the gym, I will be, hopefully, maybe, be taken out for lunch. If not, I'll just look fantastic for the afternoon. And I hope that this video finds you all really, really well. And if you really like this, please consider liking and or subscribing to my channel. And I wish you a really good week ahead. Thank you. Bye.